Welcome to the realm of true infidelity stories and the emotions they evoke. Kindly show your support for this video and consider subscribing to True Infidelity Stories Emotions. It was an ordinary Thursday evening, yet it was on the brink of transforming into something quite extraordinary. Joyce and I found ourselves in the kitchen, collaborating on dinner preparations. As she deftly chopped an onion, I took to slicing cheese and ham, preparing the perfect ingredients for our omelets. At that moment, her words halted my actions, drawing my full attention. "David, after nearly 7 years of marriage, we've consistently maintained complete honesty with one another, haven't we?" she inquired. I halted and set the knife aside. "Absolutely, we have. Truthfulness has always been the cornerstone of our bond, even prior to our marriage." Joyce glanced my way, her expression grave and contemplative. She mentioned that she had met someone. A jolt surged within me. "Have you encountered someone new? Could you clarify what you mean?" I inquired. Even though I was apprehensive, I sensed I had the answer within me. "He's a colleague from the office. An exceptionally kind individual. I have been sharing lunch with him," Joyce confessed. A knot twisted in my stomach. Is there something deeper beneath the surface? Are you fond of him? Perhaps even quite a bit? I inquired. She averted her gaze, a shadow of guilt crossing her features, and nodded gently. My hunger vanished, supplanted by a nauseating sensation. It was clear that a conversation was necessary. I let the knife slip from my grasp, grounding myself by pressing both hands firmly against the table. "What's the extent of your relationship with this guy?" My voice carried a tightness. And she was aware. She pressed herself against the counter. "For several weeks now, we've shared lunch together each day. We shared a meal last week since you were tied up with a late business meeting. But have you ever intertwined your fingers with another's? Pecked? Or accomplished anything further?" I inquired. Her complexion drained of color. Once more, she inclined her head in agreement. "We have shared a kiss." A bitter flavor lingered on my tongue, almost choking me. Did things go further than just a kiss? She glanced at me and shook her head. "Not yet." I felt like I needed to sit down. So I grabbed a chair and sank into it. "So you're considering it?" She nodded stiffly. "I think so. He wants me to go away with him for a weekend." "And are you going?" "Yes. I don't want to hurt you. But I need to figure out what he means to me." "I'm sorry, David. I understand that this causes you pain. And I truly despise that. Yet, I made a commitment to him that I would attend. I felt it was important to let you know before I slipped away. We've consistently maintained transparency with one another regarding all matters. May I inquire about your destination?" "Las Vegas. Coexisting in a shared space." "I suppose so." "He claims to have secured a suite. Generous spender. He holds me in great esteem." "I have no doubt he does. When do you plan to depart?" "In the early hours of tomorrow." "Incredible." He held off until the very last moment to share the news with me. "What?" I held back my words, needing to be completely certain of my decision before risking your feelings. I nearly let out a laugh at that. Yet it emerged as a strangled cry. "Your thoughtfulness is truly appreciated, Joyce. Is he aware of your marital status?" "Indeed. Absolutely. I consistently adorn my fingers with my wedding rings. Please do me a favor and avoid wearing them while you're in his bed in Las Vegas. David. I often mention you when I'm with him. I trust you've shared many kind words about me with him. I'm just a nice guy, similar to him. However, perhaps you've also pointed out that I can be somewhat unexciting in the bedroom. Not the most reliable provider. I have a habit of leaving toenail clippings on the carpet. Among various minor imperfections that have distanced you, I have always spoken positively about you. David. He knows I love you. But apparently not enough to keep you from going away with him for a whole weekend. You love me. But maybe you're not in love with me. Is that it? No. I don't know. I'm confused. So you're seeking clarity in the arms of this really nice man who knows you're married but doesn't care. A few days and nights in Vegas with him to figure out your feelings for both of us. Has this nice guy been tested for STDs recently? He's not like that. David. He hasn't been with a woman in over 2 years. That's what he says. But I bet he's not telling the whole truth. He's a hunter. Sees a beautiful married woman. And wants to conquer her. For guys like him, that's the real game. Steal a beautiful married woman and make her husband a cuckold. If he hasn't been tested, you might find out that what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas. It might accompany you back in a rather unwelcome manner. Is this kind gentleman your superior? Negative. He holds a position above my boss. It seems you're truly advancing. What? Advancing in the corporate world through physical appeal rather than skill and dedication. I find myself uncertain about my current direction. However, I am eager to discover. Your blunt method isn't proving effective. I'm not in a position to assist you in fleeing with another man for a weekend in Vegas. Joyce. Let me ask you something. If I beg you not to go. If I get down on my knees and plead with you to stay here with me. Will you do it? She looked down at the floor and shook her head. I am unable to do that. David. I made a commitment to Frank to accompany him. I must uphold my promise. At least I finally knew his name. Incredible. Understood. It is simple for you to disregard the promises you made to me 7 years ago. However, you mustn't go back on your word to Frank. Is that all there is? I apologize. David. I have no desire to cause you pain. However, this is something I must pursue for my own sake. Please try to understand. I knew then that I'd lost her. Yet amidst my suffering and despair, an idea struck me. A final remark that would not sway her opinion. However, it could prompt her to reflect on how her choices affect us. I rose to my feet and faced the basement door. Stay put for a moment. I have something to share with you. I'll step aside now so you can prepare for your trip. Venturing into the basement, I stumbled upon the Halloween prop I had been searching for. Next, I unlocked the wall safe. Removed a sheet of paper. Picked up a hammer and a few nails. And returned everything to the kitchen. Joyce's expression was one of confusion as she spotted me ascending the stairs with a small wooden coffin, typically reserved for our Halloween decorations. What's happening? She inquired. Please hold on for just a moment. Our time together has been extensive. And just before it all comes to a close, I have something to share with you. The 3-foot wooden coffin was set down on the kitchen table. And shifted the sandwich ingredients I had been utilizing onto the floor. This is a final resting place. Indeed. It's an inexpensive Halloween decoration. However, there remains a lingering thought. It is a coffin. Here's the lid. Here you go, a hammer along with some nails. Her expression shifted to one of discomfort as I revealed the hammer. And this? I stated. Presenting the document I extracted from the wall safe. This is our marriage license. The lid of the coffin creaked open beneath my touch. Inserted our wedding license within. And sealed it shut. David. What on earth are you up to? Please return our marriage license to its original location. Joyce remarked. Her voice escalated with urgency. What is this? Joyce. It no longer carries any meaning. This is its rightful place. Within the confines of the coffin. Prepared for its final resting place. She began to well up with tears. What do you mean by that? David. This serves as evidence of our marriage. That will no longer hold once you step outside to join Frank tomorrow. I stated. At this point, she was becoming increasingly agitated. You're not aware of that. David. I'm not certain about that. Absolutely. Joyce. I understand completely. You have decided to escape with Frank. It belongs to me. Indeed. I have decided to pursue a divorce. I took a moment to reflect. Our marriage license is exactly where it should be. Within this casket. I took hold of a nail and carefully placed it on the lid of the coffin. It crashed through with a resounding thud that startled Joyce. That marks the initial step. Representing all the delightful lunches and dinners shared with Frank. I stated. Securing an additional nail in the corner. Here is the second one. Capturing the essence of those fervent kisses exchanged between you two. I pressed on. Her mouth quivered as she watched me. I pressed the third nail firmly into yet another corner. This nail signifies your commitment to accompany Frank on his journey. The genuinely kind individual. A weekend getaway to Vegas awaits. I stated. Elevating the final nail, I carefully align it at the last corner of the coffin. With a decisive strike. I started to guide it into the forest. That marks the fourth nail. Joyce. The expression is familiar to you. The ultimate conclusion to the matter. It binds elements for all time. Determining the destiny of whoever or whatever lies within. Our marriage lies within that coffin. Joyce. As you embark on your journey to Las Vegas with Frank tomorrow morning. The final nail will secure it all. Concluding our journey together. In a state of irreconcilable and irrevocable separation. Surely, you can't be serious. David. We shouldn't be discarded for a single error. I'm not the one throwing our relationship aside. Joyce. You exist. I have cherished you with every part of my soul. Your beauty is unparalleled. The most enchanting woman I have ever encountered. It has truly been a privilege and a delight to refer to you as my wife for the last 7 years. At this moment. I'm not the one bringing this to a close. If only I could. I would willingly slip into that coffin, clutching our marriage certificate, and be laid to rest beside it. Merely to quench my curiosity and deepen the intrigue a little further. May I inquire? Should I take a look at the luggage you're preparing? Could I discover some lingerie and perhaps a negligee that you purchased specifically for this moment? Joyce remained silent. Yet, her tears and expression conveyed everything. I had the same impression. I am departing now. I refuse to bear witness to your ultimate act of treachery. I will return to gather what I require for the upcoming weeks once you have departed with Frank. During your time in Vegas. While I have a feeling that your focus will be entirely on Frank, leaving little room for other thoughts. It may be worthwhile to reflect on which items in your home you wish to retain. I will not be present upon your return. My lawyer will be reaching out to you within the next week or two. I snatched my jacket. Stepped through the threshold. I entered my car and drove off into the distance. The evening unfolded into a series of unfortunate events, marking it as the most challenging time I have ever faced. I felt utterly lifeless and devoid of sensation. I found myself uncertain of my destination. I was indifferent. I simply required an escape. Realizing that I was unable to indulge in food, I discovered a Motel 6 situated far from the airport, deliberately distancing myself from the allure of encountering Frank. Ultimately, it held no significance. Victory was his. Perhaps I had been defeated. My phone vibrated several times. Joyce's name illuminated on the caller ID. Yet, I chose to overlook it. I was not interested in listening to her justifications for leaving what I believed to be a beautiful marriage. I had a restless night. Haunted by visions of their union. How naive I had been to believe I could hold on to her for eternity. At the break of dawn the following day, I took a shower. Wear the same outfit. Then I made my way to the closest Denny's for a warm cup of coffee and some toast. It was all I believed I could handle. In spite of my attempts to steer clear of thoughts of Joyce, the thoughts of her with Frank haunted me relentlessly. I envisioned my wife, the woman I believed would forever stand beside me, intertwining fingers with Frank as we soar through the skies, sharing a kiss in the back of the taxi, hastily navigating the check-in process to reach their room. I had come across the anguish that accompanies betrayal in a relationship. Yet, I had never fully grasped the extent of its devastation. At 8:30, I made the decision to reach out to my office and let my assistant know that I wouldn't be coming in today. She inquired about my well-being, and I agreed. I expressed my hope to return to my usual self by Monday. Once the call ended, I observed a series of missed calls from Joyce, in addition to a multitude of text messages. I did not remove them. I also did not read them. The most recent message and call came in at 7:45. I figured she must have stopped trying to connect with me once she chose to be with Frank, the man who had taken my wife. I would never refer to him as a nice guy again. He was anything but that. Retribution against him was unavoidable. The perfect moment was all I required. For the sake of safety, I held off until 10:30 to head home and collect the essentials for my new existence as an independent man. Upon arriving at the driveway, I opened the garage door. Joyce's car was missing. The weight of reality struck me with undeniable force. She likely brought it along to see Frank. Steering clear of the necessity for a taxi, I berated myself for even entertaining the notion that she could have altered her decision and opted to remain at home. Be honest, friend, I whispered under my breath. She ended things with you. She discovered a more advantageous offer. A mysterious stranger might sweep her off to Las Vegas, indulging her with luxurious accommodations. Rise and embrace the journey ahead. It's unlikely you'll encounter anyone as breathtaking as she is. Rest assured, you will discover someone. In spite of what I have expressed, at my core, I found it difficult to accept their words. The house greeted me with an unsettling silence as I crossed the threshold, observing it through the blurred perspective of a shattered heart. Once, it radiated warmth and vitality. Yet now it seemed devoid of warmth and life. Gliding through the kitchen, the remnants of cheese and ham I had scattered on the floor had mysteriously vanished. The coffin had vanished from the table. It was likely discarded in the garbage. My effort to sway Joyce seemed to have fallen flat. Desire. I took a moment to reflect. Can obscure judgment in significant ways. I climbed the staircase leading to the master bedroom and gently nudged the door open. Within, the coffin rested on the bed. The lid was slightly raised. A crowbar lies in close proximity. Somebody, it is likely Joyce, had taken significant measures to loosen some of those nails. Driven by a sense of wonder, I searched and discovered the marriage license I had concealed, now resting between the two pillows at the head of the bed. It seemed she was unwilling to concede that triumph to me. I whispered to myself. I pivoted to the dresser, reaching for my underwear and socks. On the table by the window rested 3 sets of exquisite craftsmanship. Without a doubt, costly women's lingerie reduced to tatters, accompanied by a yellow negligee adorned with ribbons. On the summit of the heap lay a sheet of paper adorned with words inscribed in bold black marker. I cannot share what is not mine. What in the world? I declared with enthusiasm, casting a fleeting look at the bed. A familiar note caught my eye, resting against the coffin. I cannot share what is not mine. The identical message rendered in the same dark ink. In an instant, the sharp sound of tires screeching and the thunderous collision of 2 vehicles reverberated from outside. The front door swung open with a sudden force. Where might you be? Divine presence. I kindly ask for your presence. Kindly. David. I need you here to share just how mistaken I was. How dreadful. I was utterly mistaken. A piercing scream echoed from a woman's voice. Footsteps hurriedly approached the stairs. The sound of stumbling and falling echoed halfway up. She was weeping with overwhelming emotion. As she caught sight of me poised at the pinnacle of the landing. With outstretched arms, she started to crawl in my direction. Throughout our 7 years of marriage and the 2 years we spent dating prior to that, she was in a condition I had never witnessed before. She had no makeup on. Her hair was in a state of disarray. Her eyes were puffy and tinged with crimson. She wore a Caltech sweatshirt, soft, muted gray sweatpants, and a pair of fuzzy bunny slippers that I had playfully bestowed upon her one Christmas. "Joyce. What's happening? Where is Frank?" inquired. She shook her head with fervor and responded, "I cannot relinquish what does not belong to me." "David." I conveyed that to him. "Who was informed?" inquired. "Frank. I shared that with him when he arrived to collect me. I cannot part with what does not belong to me. I wore an outfit exactly like this." He inquired about my lack of readiness to accompany him to Las Vegas. I reiterated that I cannot part with what does not belong to me. He remarked, "What on earth does that signify?" I expressed to him that I was unable to accompany him anywhere. I would never choose to accompany him. I will never engage with him again, as I am not his to claim. My body is solely for my husband. I will keep it to myself, never revealing it to another soul. She persisted in her gradual ascent up the stairs towards me. He insulted me. David. He called me a bitch and a tease. That I had squandered his funds on the flight and accommodations in the vicinity. He made threats to destroy my professional reputation, labeling me in such a derogatory manner. He claimed he would have me dismissed from my position. I informed him that he had no power to have me dismissed since I had already resigned. His anger was palpable. The sound of his tires screeching echoed for a block as he sped away. At last, arriving at the landing, she encircled my ankles with her arms, embracing my legs tightly. "I feel a deep sense of shame," she wept. "I caused pain to the one individual who has consistently offered me love, who would go to any lengths for me. I have broken the trust of the person who holds the utmost significance in my life. I sincerely apologize." And then she cried. She clung to me as if time itself had stretched into infinity, although it likely lasted only a matter of minutes. I was utterly astonished. Immobile. The lady I cherish, the focal point of my existence, whom I revered with every ounce of my soul, had broken my heart into pieces. At this moment, several hours later, she grasped my legs tightly, weeping. Every part of me longed to pull her close, to hold her tightly in my embrace, to convey the profound affection I held for her, and to reassure her that we would journey through this challenging period side by side. I stood still, unable to move. Immobile. The occurrences of the last 15 hours surged through my thoughts. Although a part of me was convinced that she hadn't fully engaged in her relationship with Frank, the feeling of betrayal hung in the air. A married woman refrains from participating in intimate lunches and dinners. Exchange fervent kisses. Consider organizing an escape to Las Vegas with a companion. Although she had regained her clarity before any irreversible damage occurred, the treachery pierced through the heart. I found myself transfixed, my eyes locked on the woman who, up until last night, it had encompassed my whole existence. It was evident that she was experiencing as much anguish as I was. Our marriage teetered on the brink of a shadowy chasm. I found myself pondering whether we held the fortitude to keep ourselves from falling apart. Extending my hand, I helped Joyce stand up. We held each other close until her tears began to fade away. "Shall we embark on the delightful journey of brewing some fresh coffee?" I proposed. "Thank you very much, David." "David," she murmured softly, "I believe I may have caused some damage to your car as I pulled into the driveway just now." Indeed. I caught wind of it. We will delve into that as well. I provided her with reassurance. I guided her back downstairs and into the kitchen. While we enjoyed our coffee, I inquired, "What prompted your shift in perspective?" "Yesterday evening. You appeared confident in your decision to go with Frank." "What transpired?" She gazed at me from behind her cup. Her eyes remained red and swollen. "You interred our union." "Could you clarify what you mean?" I inquired. "You placed our marriage license in that coffin and sealed it tight. Once you departed, I ascended the stairs to begin my packing. Yet, my mind kept returning to the marriage license ensnared in that shadowy location. It seemed as though our marriage had reached its end. As if you were entombing it. It existed in a realm devoid of atmosphere. Darkness prevails. It was trapped, unable to break free. That's when I began to reflect on all the beautiful gifts our marriage had bestowed upon us. Everything it signified for me. Our time together was filled with joy. I recalled the joy you consistently brought into my life. It seems I may have drifted into slumber. She pressed on. I found myself in a dream, lying within that coffin. Within that shadowy realm. It was as if the air around me had thickened, closing in and making it hard to breathe. It was so vivid that it jolted me awake. And I realized I had to lift that lid and retrieve our union from within. Allow it to find its rhythm once more. Allow me to inhale once more. She let out a gentle laugh. I was completely unaware of how skillfully you concealed your tools. Finding a crowbar consumed at least an hour of my time. And yet another 30 minutes to drag that coffin up to the bedroom. And carefully lift the lid just enough to retrieve our license. A sense of possession enveloped me. I needed to get it back before you could close the lid on the coffin. When did you come to the decision to part ways with Frank? She let out another soft giggle. A melody that embraced my spirit. Just a couple of seconds after you departed. I realized that leaving with Frank or anyone else was simply not an option for me. I experienced a deep sense of foolishness and shame. How could I possibly treat the one man I've ever loved in the same way I treated you? I made several attempts to reach you by phone. Yet, you chose not to respond. After that, I began to send messages. However, that approach also proved ineffective. Eventually, once I managed to force the coffin lid ajar just enough to reach within, I contemplated the best way to convey to Frank that I no longer wished to cross paths with him. I removed all my makeup and slipped into your old Caltech sweatshirt and sweatpants. My eyes were swollen and red, a testament to the tears I had shed. I found myself pondering how Frank would perceive the true essence of who I am, the genuine self that you consistently recognize and cherish. You are the most stunning woman I have ever encountered, Joyce. At this very moment, you appear flawless in my eyes. Upon that realization, I realized that I must exhaust every effort to reclaim your heart. In hopes of rekindling your affection for me. I had not gathered many items thus far. As I began to unpack, I caught a glimpse of the lingerie I had purchased for my getaway with Frank. Once more, I found myself in a moment of vulnerability. The mere sight of them turned my stomach. They represented the ultimate manifestation of my treachery. And I was compelled to obliterate them. I grabbed my scissors and tore them all apart. They require a significant financial investment. Yet, I found myself unable to gaze upon them. I shattered them just as I believed I had shattered you and our union. I went to the place where I stored our marriage license and picked it up to examine it closely. It's quite straightforward. Joyce Russell and David Campbell tied the knot on June 12, 2005. It was witnessed by my maid of honor and your best man. While I peruse it, memory surged forth. Before our cherished family and friends, we made a solemn vow to remain faithful to one another until the end of our days. Once more, tears streamed down my face. Coming to the understanding that you are the only one for me. I informed Frank that I couldn't disclose anything I didn't possess when he arrived to collect me. I appreciate you sharing this. Your insights have certainly sparked some deep reflection. Do you believe we will navigate this and emerge unscathed? Joyce inquired. I find myself uncertain. Joyce. I certainly hope so. However, at this moment, I find myself uncertain. Last night, you came dangerously close to shattering me. I've never experienced such profound anguish before. A sense of betrayal washed over me. By oneself. And utterly powerless. Can you envision truly understanding the one you cherish above all? The one you have always placed your unwavering trust in. Is someone else being chosen over you? Once more, tears brimmed in her eyes. David. I sincerely apologize. I was completely overwhelmed. I would go to great lengths to set things straight. Even perish if that would bring about a solution. Ceasing to exist certainly wouldn't be beneficial. I desire your existence. Wholesome. Above all else. I desire to place my trust in you once more. Fortunately, it won't be as challenging as it might seem because, as you mentioned, we have consistently maintained transparency between us. Last night, you shared your thoughts and feelings with me. What comes next? Joyce. I find myself uncertain about your perspective. However, my slumber was far from restful last night. If that works for you, I would love to share a bed with you. Perhaps it's a bit premature for that. There's no obligation for us to take any action. David. I long to have you by my side. Where you truly find your place. She remarked. Her dark eyes implored with genuine intensity. Her plea was impossible to ignore. Understood. However, let's keep things straightforward. Joyce. I remain quite displeased with you. I responded with conviction. A subtle smile played at the edges of her lips. Whatever you express. My dear. She responded. Swearing an oath. She grasped my arm and guided me up the stairs to her room. No room for any nonsense. For a few months now, uncertainty loomed over everything. Regardless of my efforts. There were moments when that night would linger in my thoughts. It has left me feeling quite unsettled. Joyce had a way of recognizing those moments, enveloping me in affection until she became my sole focus. Ultimately, she decided to leave her job. When her supervisor and human resources inquired about the reason, she shared the story of Frank with them. Despite feeling a sense of embarrassment, she felt compelled to express her thoughts. It comes as no surprise. HR notified her about Frank, the outwardly pleasant individual. There were 3 complaints of harassment filed against him. To summarize, he found himself without employment and lacking recommendations. Joyce retained her position and was granted a significant financial settlement in return for refraining from legal action against the company. She remained in her position for approximately 6 months. Throughout that period, we discovered that we were about to embark on the journey of parenthood. Life progresses onward. At times, it's essential to allow someone another opportunity to correct their mistakes. Although numerous individuals might hold a different perspective than mine, I am